Hi, my name is Pam Killeen, and welcome to my podcast, Circadian Reboot, where we discuss everything circadian. And today I'm pleased to announce on the show that we have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Nerina Ramlakhan. She has over 25 years of experience in helping people and organizations thrive by using her unique blend of physiology, psychology, philosophy, professional and personal insights to create profound shifts in awareness and consciousness. Her work is always practical, and she is well known for sharing small things that make a big difference. Dr. Nerina is a well-being, sleep, and energy expert and motivational speaker who has worked with individuals, organizations, sports professionals, and the media for the past 2 decades. Her passion is for people to live more peaceful, vital, and fulfilling lives in these chaotic times. Welcome to the show today, Dr. Nerina. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to have you here. I love the work that you're doing. I love all the books that you've written, especially this one. And we're going to be talking a lot about it today, the connection between safety and sleep. But I also want to start by saying that you and I both have something very much in common, and that is that we are both recovering insomniacs. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's an absolute pleasure to be here today, Pam. I butted in there, and it's because I'm excited. I'm excited to have the chat with you. And yes, I'm like you, a recovering insomniac. Absolutely.
Yes, and so that's where our passion lies because of our history with the inability to sleep. I had trouble sleeping when I was a child, and I had a terrible, terrible time through my 20s and my 30s in particular. And here's something I want to just bounce off of you, is that I noticed that a lot of people today don't prioritize their sleep, that they don't understand the medicinal value of sleep, and they're almost in a state of denial about their sleep quality. And I've heard some varying statistics about how poorly we're sleeping today. And I don't really believe a lot of them, but I think you know. I think because of the work that you do, I think you have a really good grasp of how bad our sleep quality is today. And maybe we could start by you maybe citing maybe some of your observational data and talk about why we need to reprioritize our sleep, why we need to focus more on sleeping and sleeping well, and the benefits that we can derive from sleeping well. So maybe we can platform off of that if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely, Pam. It would be a pleasure. It is an issue. The sleep problem, we're facing a global kind of epidemic of insomnia. And the sleep industry, you just have to look at the cost of the sleep industry. And it's billions of dollars, billions of pounds. You know, there's so much money that goes into the industry of sleep, whether it's wearables or beds and mattresses and pillows and blackout. You know, there's a whole array of products which are geared towards helping us. And we haven't even gotten into the kind of the pharmaceutical industry and sleeping medications and things like that. So it is a big problem. I'm just about to start a project with a school where I'm now trawling through a big pile of data that I've collected from the school. And, you know, the sleep, this is what really worries me, is the sleep patterns and the energy levels and the exhaustion that we're seeing in young people. And these are children in their teens at school, in high school. So there is a global epidemic of insomnia. And I'm not being dramatic when I say that. And I have been observing it for almost 30 years. I started doing this work 28 years ago. I've started saying 28 years ago because I've been saying, you know, more than 25 years ago. I've been saying that for years. So I've suddenly realized it's almost 30. But I've been observing the escalation in sleep problems for a long time. And I think we're at a peak at the moment.
Right, and you came into this field purely by accident as well. I know you've worked a lot in the corporate world, and
Yeah.
back then, in 25, 28 years ago, you started to see a pattern happening and just gradually, accidentally became a sleep expert. And so, what are you doing these days to coach people about the importance of sleep and sleep hygiene? And what are some of the fundamental things that you are talking about in your book, Finding Inner Safety? So what is your message to the world about the connection between safety and sleep?
Yeah, that's a lovely question. And it's a profound question, actually, if I can put it that way, because while we look to the sleep industry to bring us products to enable us to sleep, and I've just mentioned, beds, mattresses, pillows, wearables, I'm wearing one myself, blackout blinds, all of this stuff. Fundamentally, the issue with being able to sleep well lies deep, it lies within us. I don't mean that to sound esoteric or airy-fairy. It literally, the solution to being able to sleep well lies within us. What do I mean by that? I am not a medical doctor, I'm a physiologist. I'm fascinated by physiology. And so when I say that the answers lie within us, I could get very spiritual about it, but actually let's just look at the physiology of what I'm talking about. The key to being able to sleep well lies within the autonomic nervous system. The balance of parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So it doesn't matter how many products you have, and many of my clients do have all the latest gadgets and all the latest you-know-whats, and the most wonderful beds and mattresses and pillows and Egyptian cotton sheets, but they can't sleep. And that's because they're living their lives in a way that makes them feel unsafe when they don't even know that they're unsafe. Their nervous system is unsafe. Their nervous system is nervous. And they don't even realize it is, because they've habituated to a level where it has become the norm to live in their sympathetic nervous system. So I don't know, would it be helpful if I drill down a little bit for your listeners and say a little bit about what I mean by sympathetic and parasympathetic?
Please do. Absolutely.
So, our autonomic nervous system, this is the amazing intelligence of our physiology, the nervous system that governs all of the most important functions in your body, the heartbeat, your breathing, your respiratory patterns, your appetite, all the things that we don't really think about, the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system, for simplicity, is divided into two main branches. The sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, survival. It runs on hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, noradrenaline. It's constantly on the go, 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 go. Fear, threat, I must survive. And then you have the parasympathetic, which is rest, repair, recovery, digestion, sexual function, restorative functions. And this kind of restores the body, keeps the body going. Quietly, it's the hum in the background that keeps us well, enables us to sleep, the parasympathetic. And the main nerve of the parasympathetic is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve. And when we feel safe within ourselves, the nervous system, let me just back up. These two branches of the nervous system were designed along the premise of the hunter-gatherer feeling either unsafe or not safe. Is the world unsafe or is it safe? So the caveman assesses the environment. The caveman, the cavewoman assesses the environment. Am I hungry? Is it cold? Do I need to fight off some saber-toothed tiger? Do I need to protect my young? Am I unsafe? Am I in survival? I need to live in fight or flight. I need to run on adrenaline and cortisol. Or am I living in an environment in which there's an adequate supply of food? I'm safe. I am warm. My young are protected. I am protected. I have shelter. Therefore, I can go into restoration mode. So it is safe for me to be alive. It is safe for me to sleep. So it's only when our nervous system has scanned the environment and made an assessment of safety that we're able to live in the parasympathetic and therefore sleep. But these days, something interesting is happening because the nature of stress, the nature of life has changed. So that you can go around fundamentally in safety mode. You've got some money in the bank, you've got a roof over your head, you've got a job, children are in school, food in the fridge. But on some level, because of the way we're running our bodies and our minds, we're being told from the external world that we're unsafe. We're running ourselves as if we're in lack of safety. Go, 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 go. And so the nervous system starts to habituate to living in lack of safety. We cannot stop. So when you go to bed at night, We can't stop, we can't sleep.
And just look at the messaging in the media, that fear is being used to market so many
Yeah,
things. I mean,
yeah.
from morning until night, it's the messaging that we get from the media that scares us. And then on top of that, people choose to go and watch horror movies, which is just adding insult to injury. Some of the more popular movies that young people go to are those horror movies. So they're already scared, and then they add more and more fear on top of the fear. We're surrounded by so many things that make us feel afraid. And so that has got to have a negative impact on our sleep.
Yeah, you're right, Pam. I agree with you. And it's not even the obvious stuff like watching news and looking at social media, or the stuff that we're putting into our minds on television or in the cinema or whatever. It's the go go go, the relentlessness, the lack of downtime. And I've done a TEDx talk on this called "Come to Work and Rest," which is related to the lack of intermittent recovery in our daily routines, the lack of intermittent recovery, and the fact that we go, 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 and that starts to send the body into a state of crisis and survival, where we start to live in a state of unsafety, even though we're not physically doing a lot. We're just not stopping. And the not stopping isn't even so much physical, it's mental. We're
You have a great
constantly in
line. Yeah.
overthinking.
Yeah. You have a great
You know,
line that
it's
you use. It's called building rest into your day. And
yeah,
so I suppose what that's doing neurologically is it's telling the body to move away from the sympathetic dominant state and to get more and more used to being in the parasympathetic or the calming and restful state. There's techniques that I know you use to try and build that rest into your day, even taking a short nap, possibly.
yeah. I mean, I before this interview, I must admit, I was feeling a little sleepy, and I thought, do I need rest? I'm going to take rest. What is the kind of rest that I need? Am I going to sit down and rest, to close my eyes? Am I going to lie down and rest? Or am I going to engage in some active rest? So I actually had some active rest. I went out, I walked in the sunshine, I stood in the sun a few times, and I just allowed the, because here in England it's getting cold. I don't know what it's like in Canada at the moment, but we've got a lot of grey days and we've got more coming up. So I thought, I need to get as much sunshine as possible before this interview. So I sought active rest. I listened to a podcast. I started bombarding my frontal lobe, the working memory, with information. And then I thought, no, I need mental rest as well, because I've been talking a lot today and taking a lot of information in. So I switched the podcast off and I just walked. And many times I actually wanted to go back to listen, because we're so used to just, I need to be in doing mode, and including thinking, listening, information in. No, can I just allow myself to just be? And
Yeah.
that's a work in progress, even for me. I know this.
I've seen some healthy messaging in the mainstream media, which is a little bit unusual, but nevertheless, I've seen some healthy messaging lately and heard it on the radio as well, where they're talking more and more and more about meditation and proper breathing, calming breathing. And I know you're a really big fan of both of those modalities. Um, do you have any specific meditation practices that you use or breathing practices that you would encourage people to adopt?
Well, while I'm speaking to you right now, I am, well, not as I'm actually emitting the words, but when you speak, it gives me an opportunity to rest in a funny kind of way. So I have a sip of my drink, my non-caffeinated drink, but I'm really working on feeling my feet on the ground during this interview, and I'm working on, when I breathe out, sending my out breath out through my lower body, out through. I'm imagining I'm breathing out through my hips, my legs, my lower legs, and my feet every time I have an opportunity to rest in between speaking. And just there I took a little pause. And just then I sent that breath out again a little bit longer. Now what happens when we prolong the exhalation is it engages the parasympathetic via the vagus nerve. It engages the diaphragm, and the vagus nerve travels through the diaphragm. So when you prolong the out breath, you breathe out, 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 out. The vagus nerve is stimulated. So in the interest of my energy levels and in the interest of not being overly speedy, which is my default setting, I'm not very good at resting, which is why I once had a sleep problem. So I try and work on resting as much as possible. So, catching these clever little moments to rest as we go about even busy days, even if I'm on a stage speaking to thousands of people, I'm always looking for opportunities to feel my feet on the ground and potentially even rest. Meditation, I've had a long journey with meditation of decades. I practice transcendental meditation, TM, have done for decades. But I also chop and change. There are times when my meditation practice might be listening to somebody guiding something. I'm listening to a lot of Joe Dispenza at the moment about rewiring the brain, because I'm just challenging some mindsets that I tend to have and some limiting beliefs which are not great. And I just want to change them. I'm a constant work in progress. So I've dropped the TM for now, but they're very relaxing. I'm being guided by his voice. The only thing I don't like about that morning meditation, because I meditate at the moment for about 45 minutes in the morning, but it means I then have to go out and grab my phone from downstairs. It's switching off. It's switched off and charging downstairs. I have to go and get my phone and switch it on, and try and not look at all the notifications when I switch it on to find the meditation, But normally I just sit upright and I do my own meditation practice. But at the moment I'm breaking a little bit of a rule because I'm experimenting with somebody else's meditation practice, Yeah.
And what do you find helps people most? I mean, in terms of their nighttime ritual, is it going to be slowing down by turning off devices, avoiding television, wearing blue light blocking glasses, using blackout curtains? I mean, the list is enormous as to you touched on it earlier, the amount of sleep aids or sleep techniques that are being used today. But for like a bedtime ritual, is meditation one of the top things to turn to try and calm down and turn yourself from being in a sympathetic dominant state to a parasympathetic state? Or what do you
Absolutely.
normally see people do?
I like to have a conversation with my clients and get them to to be their own sleep coaches and to listen in to what would work best for them and to try different things. Now, for me personally, doing a long meditation session before I go to bed doesn't help me sleep that well. If I meditate for a long period before I turn my bedside light out, I get so much deep restoration that when I turn the lights out, my body feels like it doesn't need rest anymore. It's already had its rest, and I feel quite lively. So I meditate first thing in the morning, and then if I meditate again for a second time, it would be in the afternoon at some point before 7 p.m. But for some people, they find some meditative practice before they go to sleep enormously helpful. And I do believe it depends on your physiology. If you look at things like Chinese medicine or Indian medicine, Ayurveda, and you look at people's elemental makeup, the amount of water, fire, air, earth they have, their Ayurvedic types, that gives you more information to work with, For me, if I meditate before I go to bed, it cools my fire energy so much that actually it's not so helpful for my sleep. So I advise people to try different things. You might just try a breathing meditation. Just 5 to 10 minutes of doing box breathing.
Can you talk a little bit about box breathing? Because that is very helpful, I've
Yeah,
noticed for most people.
yeah.
Before any listeners start any of these exercises, please keep in mind that you shouldn't be driving a car. If you're going to engage in these exercises, I would highly recommend that you be at home or in your office, sitting in a quiet space, in a chair or lying down.
So with a box breathing, if everyone wants to try this with me right now, let's just try this with our eyes closed. Feel your feet on the ground, even better if you have bare feet. and straighten up. Don't get too slumpy. And I'm hoping they're not lying down, but imagine that, you're sitting upright. You want your spine as vertical as possible. Imagine you have a string attached to the top of your head and it's kind of elongating your spine. And your neck is straight. You're not slumping. And then we're going to try what's called box breathing on a count of 4. So you breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. You hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding. 2, 3, 4. In. 2, 3, 4. Now, I would advise you to be breathing mainly through your nose. But if you can't do that, just breathe whatever way it goes. But I want you to try this for yourself. I'll start you off and now you just try it for a few rounds of this box. So you're in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So just try it for a few rounds. So eyes are closed, ideally through the nose. We're going in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Over to you. So hopefully your listeners completed another box on their own, but it could be as simple as that. But
Yes,
one
and
of
you
the
can
things
extend,
I
I've heard you
love,
can extend that exhale as well as you get
yes,
more
you
advanced with
can.
it. Mm-hmm.
Personally, the 4 for me is too short. I do better on a 6 or an 8 or something like that. But I also teach people gratitude meditations, going to bed thinking, I personally love to go to bed giving thanks for anything that happened in the day. Some people do it as a gratitude journal, or you could just go to bed and just go backwards through your day in your mind and go, what am I grateful for? But I love to even just dance around my day. Thank you for that amazing meeting. Thank you for that opportunity. Thank you for the teenager buying me flowers. Thank you
Yes.
for that beautiful sunshine, whatever. And just in my mind, being able to go to that place of gratitude puts the body and the nervous system into a state of safety. So you really want to go to bed not with a horror show in your mind.
Yeah,
Not with
and
a
I know
horror
you talk a
show.
lot about human connectedness versus separateness, and unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, we may be, on our cell phones or emailing to each other, but it also keeps us quite separate, and we need that connection. We need that feeling of connection in order to feel safe, so that we can therefore sleep at night. And I know
Yeah.
in your book you talk about, I think another book, it's called Alone Together. And it really
Yes.
summarizes the world that we live in today. And I think that this pattern has to stop for us to really truly get in touch with that parasympathetic system. Do you not agree?
I really agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Sherry
Yeah.
Turkle. She's brilliant work. Sherry Turkle's work. She wrote the book Alone Together, and she's written another one or two since then as well. Her books are amazing. But you're absolutely right, because human beings, we are pack animals. We do need other people, and when we're around other people and we're making eye contact and we can hug each other, and you've got the physical contact and you've got the eye contact and the vocal prosody. You can see someone, you can listen to the vocal tones. It enables us to produce the hormones oxytocin, the love and trust hormone, or serotonin, the mood hormone, and that builds a sense of safety, inner safety. So I think, we have become so isolated and so lonely. And of course, during COVID, that got worse. And so we're seeing a lot of people, and especially young people now, who just don't know how to relate with each other. They don't know how to make friends. They don't trust. And because of everything going on in social media, they've become very distrustful.
And that has to tie into, safety and sleep as well. When we were tribal and we lived in packs of 80 to 100 people, there was a lot of trust. It was embedded in our human spirits. And now, because of all this distancing, we've lost that camaraderie. We've lost that sense of being tribal. And I suppose in these small tribes as well, one or two people would be awake all night long. They were assigned to be awake and watch over the rest of the tribe. And they would do it in shifts, I'm sure. But these were probably the younger people, not the older people. And everybody could, therefore, in the tribe sleep well at night because they were comforted knowing, that somebody was looking out for them.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, our world needs to change. Things need to change because it's just getting faster and faster, and we're becoming more dislocated from each other, disconnected from each other, while becoming more connected in a different sense. And, this isn't a rant against technology. Isn't it amazing that there you are in Canada and here I am in the UK, and we can connect with each other in this way? But so there are enormous positives, but at the same time, the overuse of technology as a means of connecting is creating some problems, not least in regards to insomnia and mental health issues.
Exactly. Now, I know you talk a lot about deep sleep and how it should occur, I think you say before midnight, in the earliest hours of your sleep. Why is it so important to get that deep sleep? And then maybe we can segue over to REM sleep.
Yeah. So deep sleep is, as it sounds, it's our deepest phases of sleep, or, as we sleep, we travel through the sleep journey at night. We go through stages of consciousness. So if I'm fully alert at the moment, my brainwave activity is in a beta wave mode. As I relax, it goes into alpha and then theta and then delta. It's in delta that we start to go into what's called slow wave sleep or deep sleep. And deep sleep is the sleep that restores the body deeply on every level. So every physiological system. And in Chinese medicine, if you bring that into this, integrate that with this, we restore the body. The liver and the heart and the kidneys, Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, Indian medicine, they give us more insights into which energy systems are deeply restored in the deep sleep phases. So it's not just a case of one deep sleep phase is the same as another one. We sleep roughly in about 90 to 110 minute cycles. And each cycle, there's a slice of deep sleep in there. So each deep sleep slice, as we go through the night, it repairs a different system in the body. And it's looking like, those earlier stages of deep sleep when you first go to bed, and particularly if you hit those phases before midnight, are especially restorative and especially important for detoxifying the brain, cleaning up the brain. It's like, you go to bed at night and you invite the best cleaner into your brain to hoover the brain,
Yeah.
and that's what's happening in your deep sleep, in your REM as well. But there's a lot of that happening in your deep sleep. So when you have good deep sleep, you wake up in the morning and you feel very restored, very regenerated.
This is a great little chart, by the way, in one of your books. I love this little chart. It's in
Thank
your little
you.
book.
Yeah.
Yes. So it shows some of the
Thank you,
different things
Pam.
that happen, during the night, the different systems that are affected. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, it's not just because a lot of people are doing, I recently had to do an interview with Sky News where they said, should we, that there's some recent research that shows that by having lions at the weekend, people who have lions can reduce their risk of developing heart problems. Well, maybe a certain population can, but actually, a lot of people, what they do, they will take that piece of evidence and they'll go, okay, I'm going to not get enough sleep during the week, and then I'm going to lie in at the weekend. When actually that's sleep before midnight, or I'm going to go to bed really late, but I'm going to have a lie-in. And actually what you're doing is you're missing out on those vital pre-midnight phases of sleep that are so deeply restorative. So it's not a case of one phase of sleep is the same as all of the others. You need that pre-midnight sleep, which a lot of people are missing out on because of their blue light, addiction to technology, box sets, Netflix.
Or the belief that they are night owls, and that's really not the
Yeah,
case. I mean, we always
yeah,
went to bed, with the sun going down, and we would get up with the sun going up.
yeah,
And so this
yeah.
idea that, some people are night owls, and it's very unhealthy. It's as unhealthy
It
as
is.
some of these other expressions that you probably these expressions make you cringe, about how I'll sleep when I'm dead, or sleep is for the weak, and
Mm,
all of these other
mm.
expressions that really, downplay the role of sleep on our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, is it shifting? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot more. When I first started talking about sleep in organizations, I was one of very much a minority. I was considered a bit of a trailblazer. Now there are a lot more experts out there talking about, circadian rhythms and sleep. And as I said, the industry has grown. But I still think we've got some way to go to redress the balance,
I
because
agree. I
people
agree.
are, they might, knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. You might know that you need to go to bed before midnight. That's one of the things. Sometimes people they want to work with me, and they have a session with me, and then I don't hear from them anymore. And I think, oh, I wonder what's going on there. And I try and follow up, and they say, well, yeah, I really heard what you said, but I can't do that going to bed before midnight thing.
Well,
And,
look at
and
all the
th- this was the
distractions.
key.
Look at all the distractions
Yeah,
we have. I mean, everybody
yeah,
wants to stay up late
yeah.
and watch, some of these comedy shows or whatever the case may be.
Mm,
Talk shows
mm.
are on late at night. They want to catch some of that, but there's just too many distractions, perhaps, and that's why people aren't prioritizing their sleep. And it's really quite tragic.
Yeah, there are too many distractions. There are too many things to distract us from an innate, um, from what could be a sense of not feeling safe. And so we seek distraction in whatever, gaming, or I don't want to go to bed because when I get into bed, all I hear is this rubbish in my head. I don't want to have to listen to that, so I'm going to stay up. I'm going to watch another episode or whatever. And that's why I think it all comes back to, do you feel safe enough? Do you feel safe enough to be with those thoughts in your mind when you go to
And
bed?
that
And
racing
we
mind is a
all,
big problem, right? Yeah.
it is, and we all have it, myself included. And I do this, and I'm sleeping better in my life than I ever have done, at a stage of my life where I should not be sleeping well. My sleep problem started when I was a baby, continued into my 20s and 30s, and even my 40s. I'm now in a phase of life which, we call the sandwich years. Do you have that in Canada as well, the sandwich years?
I've heard that expression. I haven't used it myself. Maybe you can clarify.
Yeah. The sandwich years are where you are sandwiched in a really tight place. And the sandwich, is elderly parents, parents growing down, becoming childlike, and children growing up, becoming adults, but raging at you, teenagers. And at the same time, you might have raging hormones of menopause or perimenopause, you know? So at a time in your life where your physiology is really trying to rebalance itself, you've got these external life events happening at the same time. So I'm in that phase of my life, but I'm sleeping better than I ever have done before. But I have to use my own tools, because there are times when I go to bed, and I had this last night, where all the worries come up. I worry about my daughter, my 20-year-old. I feel guilty about my elderly mother. who lives thousands of miles away. And I have to use my own techniques and tools to bring a sense of safety into my body.
I have a list of different exercises that you talk about, and they're all very helpful for people. Maybe we can talk about a few of them here, and maybe you can describe them, because I think they're great tools that people can use after they listen to this podcast. Now, one of
Yeah.
them is called the havening technique. And I watched you talking about it on another podcast, and the host of the podcast said it almost brought him to tears. And so maybe you can talk about that. It's a very powerful technique. It's called the havening technique.
Yeah. So the havening technique was developed by, I think it was a military psychiatrist who developed this technique to treat war veterans, people and soldiers who were going into war situations, and they had extreme insomnia because of the post-traumatic stress disorder, because of the things they had experienced. And the havening technique, without going into too much detail, because let's try and cover off as many techniques for your listeners as possible. So in brief, the havening technique is based on the principle of bilateral stimulation of different areas of the brain. And it's simply, you can invite your listeners to go off and look up havening technique, or Google Dr. Nerina havening technique, or find me on social Instagram or something where I'm doing the technique, but I'm talking about it in more detail. But basically what you do is you stimulate opposite the hemispheres of the brain by using your hands on opposite arms. So you have your right hand on the left arm, left hand on the right arm, and I'm tapping while repeating some words, such as, and I've got my eyes closed right now because I'm going to try and get something out of this for myself. I am safe. I'm safe in my body. I'm safe in my life. I'm safe in my skin. I'm safe. I'm safe to let go. I'm safe to sleep. I'm safe to rest. So it's a version of that. And it's so simple that you can make up the own words, but it's I am. And you choose the words, and you can get that word safe in as much as possible. So if you get into bed and you suddenly notice this flood of thoughts which are telling you you're not safe, or you wake in the early hours and you notice this flurry of thoughts, you just, I am safe, I am safe, I'm safe in my body, I'm safe. Because we go into this childlike state when we go to bed at night, Pam. We become quite childlike. And so things that don't bother us during the day, they can bother us at night.
Yeah.
They can bother us in the early hours,
And you have other techniques as well. You have one called the heel drops, where you're standing up and you just drop your heel to the ground. And I don't know if you want to demonstrate it or just describe it. Not everybody's going to have the video, so.
Yeah, let me describe it, because I've got my little dog sleeping beside me in her bed, and every time I try and demonstrate this in a podcast interview and I stand up and do it, she starts barking, and then we have a whole disruption. So what is a heel drop? We're talking about the heels of the feet. The reason I love this technique is because what can happen when we go to bed at night is that we can get so caught up in our head, in the thoughts, because we've been relentlessly mental all day. We've been in our heads all day. And we're finding it very hard to come back into the body. And fundamentally, sleep is a somatic experience. Somatic comes from the Latin word soma. Soma means of the body. Sleep is a somatic experience. It means come back into the body. So what I love about heel drops is that, this is how you would do it. Stand up, bare feet, feet planted about hip width apart. Imagine you have that string attached to the top of your head. It's elongating your spine. You're standing up straight. Now, if you think you might fall over, keep your eyes open. But if your balance is great and you trust it, keep your eyes closed. If you have any medical problems why you can't do this, or physio problems, work within your limits. But if you can do this, do it. Okay, you're standing there, eyes closed, feet on the ground, about hip width apart. So come up onto the toes, the balls of your feet, drop down. Come up again, tippy toes, balls of feet, drop down. Up, 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 up. Whew, drop down. Thump those heels down. If you think you're really unsteady, really open your eyes or hold on to a chair. But what you want to get is the sensation of landing in the body. Landing in the body. Now, Pam, I kid you not. I am not doing this because I'm sitting, but my feet are now tingling as a result of doing this. Just imagining myself. So sometimes in bed at night when I've gone relentlessly into my head because I'm a real overthinker of everything, I can find myself in bed tonight, waking up in the early hours going, oh, I didn't say this to Pam, I didn't say that. And just the imagining of the feet, or even just getting my feet and rubbing them together in bed, brings me back out of the head, plop, and right back into my body.
Yeah, and you have another technique that's a variation of body scan that I love because you use the word love, and love is associated with safety. And it's a very, very simple body scan technique that I would really appreciate that you could share it with my audience because it's a fantastic idea.
Thank you for asking because I love that technique. So, we sleep when we feel safe. The most safety-inducing word in the English dictionary is probably the word love. But so often we go to bed in a state of hate or fear. Oh, that thing I did, that thing I said, or what if, and the news says this, and the this says this, and the that, you know, my parents are this, and my child is this. We're in a state of fear and worry. Let's reverse that. We're in bed. The eyes are closed. We notice a storm of punishing, fear-filled, angry, hating thoughts. We go, do you know what? Let my mind think that, but I am going to talk to myself. I'm going to talk to little Nerina in the most loving way and bring her back into her body so she can sleep. So here's the meditation. So if you're listening to this podcast, close your eyes and do this with me. Repeat the words as I say them. As if talking to a little baby version of you. Okay, let's go. I love my left foot. I love all the toes of my left foot. I love my entire left foot. I love my left ankle. I love my left lower leg. That is it. You work your way up your body. I would have got to my left knee. I love my left knee. I love my left thigh. I love the left side of my groin. But we don't have time to do the whole thing. By the way, on my website, the whole version of the meditation is there. Or if you join me on Instagram, it's called Restore and Boost Meditation. If people want the whole thing, I'm taking them through the whole thing in 5 minutes. But you do this to yourself. Now, what will happen when you're doing this in bed at night is you will start to drop down and fall asleep. You'll lose the ability to say, I love my left foot. I love da-da-da. You go right back to the starting point and you start again. You start again. I love my left foot. It is so simple. You don't need Dr. Nerina to teach you that, to be there in bed with you. Sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. But you don't need me in bed with you listening to me. You teach yourself how to do it. You teach yourself how to do it.
Now, these are fantastic tools that I know that you work with your clients one-on-one. And I do have a final question for you, but I want to, before we go to that question, maybe you can talk about working in groups with people, and you have a very special 6-week course coming up in November. And maybe you can provide some details of that before I ask you the last question.
Thank you. I'll try and make it really brief, but I am really excited because I feel passionately that people can teach themselves how to sleep well. And I did as well, right? not just because of my personal experience, but because I have worked with thousands of people over the years. I've seen time and time and time and time again that I give people some tools and I go away now. I don't work with people long term. Maybe one session, maybe 3 sessions maximum. I've given them tools. Take this, use it. So what I have done is I've created a 6-week program for people in which I'm handing the tools over. And the first cohort of the 6-week program starts in November 2024. The beginning of November 2024 is called Be Your Own Sleep Coach, where I'll be working with groups of people online around the world, handing over the tools. It's not pre-recorded or anything. Unless you can't attend, you'll get the pre-record lifetime access. But otherwise, they show up, they come and meet me, they bring their questions and their worries and concerns, and I give them tools. And it's a 6-week journey starting November 2024. If they can't make that one, there will be a few cohorts throughout the year that I'll be running, So stay tuned, connect with me, and we'll tell you every time there's a different 6-week program running. I think I did that in 1 minute, so I'm quite proud of myself.
That's
but
fantastic.
If you watch the space, get onto my website, you'll know when to sign up, how to sign up, and what it involves.
And that's drnerina.com, correct?
Dr. Nerina, Dr. Nerina, Nerina, drnerina.com.
I'll put that below, and your Instagram handle, I'll put that below in the show notes. But to top things off here, I have one final question, and that is, you talk about the 5 non-negotiable things that you need to set up your night for good sleep. What are these 5 non-negotiables? And perhaps what else do you do in your daily regimen that helps enhance your sleep at night?
Yeah. So let's go with the 5 non-negotiables. These are based on my almost 30 years of experience of working with thousands of people. TV, radio, books, keynote presentations, conferences, the whole lot. A lot of people, including 10 years in psychiatry. And I'm saying this because people will go, oh yeah, that again. But actually these 5 things I've seen time and time again make such a big difference. It's step 1 of my methodology. Of course, it's not the whole methodology, which is why I'm doing the 6-week course. But these 5 things, you do them for 10 to 14 days. They will start to change your nervous system, your relationship with safety, and your relationship with sleep. Number 1, eat a nutrient-rich breakfast within 30 to 45 minutes of rising. Don't skip breakfast. Nutrient-rich, protein, fat, carbohydrate. Get your macros. Number 2, don't use caffeine as a substitute for food. Cut your caffeine right back. Your tea or coffee. Eat food. If your energy's dipping, maybe you need to move or breathe. Or number 3, maybe you need to hydrate. Or maybe you need to get natural daylight or something. But don't use caffeine as a substitute for food. No caffeine after 2 p.m. Ideally, if you've really got sleep problems, ideally no caffeine at all. My 3rd one is hydration, about 2 to 3 litres of water a day. Number 4 is get yourself to bed earlier, between 9:30 to 10, reading a book, meditating, journaling, practicing the breathing, relaxing. Number 5, off your technology, off your phone. Technology out of the bedroom, get an old-fashioned clock in your room. And I'm giving another technique here, but don't look at the time during the night when you wake up. It is normal to wake up. So those 5 non-negotiables, they will change your relationship with sleep, your energy, your nervous system, your relationship with safety. There's a big science behind each of them, but we're running out of time. Shall I address your question of what do I do?
Is there anything you add to that list that is special, that is unique to Nerina?
I'm on a mission to bring more joy into my life. Because I have noticed the more joyful I am, the better I sleep. The more I laugh, the better I sleep. The more I smile, the more I love. Live well. I like to say live well, love well, sleep well. So I noticed that I have a pattern which comes from some childhood trauma and conditioning related to perfectionism, related to overthinking. I've alluded to it during this podcast. Related to some unpleasant things that happened when I was a child. bless my parents, they did their best, but it wasn't always ideal, right? So I've noticed I have a pattern of negativity creeping in. Sometimes I can be really glass half empty, you know? So I have to really spot it. So I practice spotting it and I go, cancel, cancel, cancel. Refuse, refuse, refuse. I spot the thoughts and I go, no, no more of that.
And you surround
No more
yourself
of
with
that.
positive people as well.
Yeah, I have amazing friends. My top WhatsApp friends are the ones who boost my positivity and remind me to stay positive. I also have my own healers because those of us who are sensitive, I recognize I'm a very sensitive human being who can be very introverted, who has chosen to be out in the world working with a lot of people. And I am a healer. I'm going to put that out there. I'm a scientist, but I'm also a healer. And healers need healers, need healers, need healers. So I regularly look at myself and I go, oh, what's going on here? I need to top up my batteries. Who can help me? And I might have some Reiki, or I might have a massage, or I might book a day in a spa, or I might decide I need to go dancing. But I will do something that hopefully brings some joy in.
That's
Because that
fantastic.
helps me feel safe so I can sleep.
It's a great message to end this conversation on. It has been such an honor having you on the show, and I so appreciate all of the work that you're doing. And again, I'll put all the information about Dr. Nerina below in the show notes, and you can go to her website to learn more about this 6-week course that you have coming up in November. So thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Pam. It's been an absolute privilege to chat to you. And every interview that I do with a brilliant interviewer like you reminds me how much I love doing what I'm doing and how much I'm on a mission to empower people to listen to their body, because the body has all the wisdom to be their own sleep coach. So thank you so much for today's opportunity and for promoting my work and supporting it. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show.
It would be a pleasure.
Thank you for taking your valuable time to join us today. The information provided on my website, community forum, and podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. We are not licensed medical professionals, and the content shared here is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are seeking health advice or have specific medical concerns, we strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified medical doctor or healthcare provider. They are trained to evaluate your individual health needs and provide personalized recommendations tailored to your unique circumstances. By accessing and using my website, participating in my member forum, or listening to my podcast, you agree to acknowledge and abide by this disclaimer. We do not assume any responsibility or liability for actions taken based on the information provided herein.